Hello and welcome. This is Penny Sansevieri with Author Marketing Experts. And today I'd like to take you through my no BS guide to book marketing because there is a lot of information out there that can be confusing and conflicting in most cases. This is an overview of a blog post, which I will give you the link to at the end for more detailed information. But an overview of a blog post that's been really popular in terms of solid information and some real straight guidance that can help you get more visibility for your book. So let's take a look at the first piece of this. I think we all know that there's no such thing as an overnight success, but it still gets to be a little bit confusing because when you look at promotional campaigns out there, they all seem to sort of indicate that there is some sort of immediacy to them, and there might be, but in terms of staying power of a book, so a book can do really, really, really well out of the gate and then just die off. But in order to have continued success, you want to continue marketing your book. And the first piece of that is to remember that promotion is really a long runway. So if you envision a plane taking off, planes generally don't just sort of get to the front of the runway and then automatically lift off. They need a little bit of ramp up time. And the same thing is very, very true for your book. So plan for the long term, create marketing goals, even if it's just 2 or 3 or 4 goals, even if it's just one goal for each month. Because, most of us have other projects, other jobs, commitments, family, those types of things. So one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to overcommit yourself because all that's going to do is just discourage you. Don't spend your entire marketing budget in one place. So we've had authors that have come to us who've said, look, I have $20,000 to spend, or I have, $2,000 to spend or whatever. And that's great. Those are both really amazing marketing budgets. But if that's all you have for the next year or the next 5 years, you may want to think about how you're spending that money. Um, so find a time each day to promote your book, even if it's just to do one thing at a time. Can really help to move your book forward, even if it's just sending out a thank you note. Always be engaged on a daily basis in your own success. Now, a lot of authors come to us and say, or even come to me at after doing a talk and say, I really hate marketing. Marketing is not my thing. So there are some easy things that you can do. Now, you could outsource absolutely everything. So I hate accounting and I have an accountant. I don't do anything related to the accounting for the business or my own taxes or anything because I'm just not good at it. But you may not be in a position to hire out every aspect of your campaign. If that's the case, you should plan on doing some things on your own. So building a fan base, building super fans. I talk a lot about that on the amarketingexpert.com website on the blog. I talk a lot about how to grow your fan base and how to build them into super fans. Always be pitching reviewers. And in the post that I'm going to send you the link to, there's a blog that lists a couple of blogger directories so you can get started that way. Boost your Amazon visibility, keywords and categories. If you've followed me for any length of time, you know I always, always, always talk about optimizing your Amazon page. Your social media, really important, and your blog. You should be blogging weekly at a minimum. But in terms of your social media, pick your battles wisely. And by that I mean, don't be everywhere that matters. So find one site that you feel like you can really rock out to. Some people will say, well, you have to be on every social media site. If you can keep your visibility, going there, so if you can update those daily, all those sites, then great. But if you can't, then I would pick one and really, really rock out on that one. I've known some authors to go on to Pinterest and do extremely well on Pinterest, and that's the only thing they do. But that's their focus and that's their fan base. And so that you may be in a similar situation. I think most of us are a little pressed for time. So things that you can do. Oh, hold on one second. So we have too good to be true. All right. So in terms of hiring people, I want you to ask really good questions. Ask about results. Google them. Remember that there are some very, very inexpensive marketing campaigns out there. And sometimes I will go in and sort of anonymously buy them just to kind of get a sense of how well they work, or in some cases don't work. Sometimes you absolutely do get what you pay for. Sometimes you get really great results, but you want to be very, very specific. So ask them. I'm not a fan of asking for referrals because I think that nobody's going to send you a bad referral, but you should Google them for sure to see if anybody else has used them or posted about them, good or bad. You just really, really, really want to know if you are going to invest your money that you're doing it wisely. Things you can do that won't cost you a dime. I wrote a blog post, and again, we'll put the link in the post on this video feed for you so you can take a look at it, about the things that you can do that won't cost you anything. And one of those is your infrastructure. So if you have a website, um, make sure that if you have social media, make sure that it's all linked. Make sure that if you have a newsletter that people can sign up for it on your homepage. Those are some basic things, but people often forget them and don't do them until much later, and then you may have wasted losing some fans or people that went looking for you and couldn't find you. Put your book to work. I talk a lot about putting a letter in the back of your book to invite, encourage, and entice readers to contact you. That is one of the quickest, fastest ways to build your fan base. Fans, readers, super fans. I'll tell you something, if you can take a reader slash fan and turn them into a super fan, they will do a lot of your marketing for you. That takes some time and some effort, and probably, some creativity in terms of getting them really engaged. The next piece of this is free as your friend. So I like to use free as a promotional tool in terms of, how can I position this book? How can I do a freebie giveaway and maximize that? So, get it out there, put it out on Twitter, put it out on social media, advertise that freebie, even if it's just for a day. But free can be definitely used to your advantage. So, Amazon algorithms, I mentioned that earlier. Now, keep in mind, these are all things that technically shouldn't really cost you anything except for your time, which I realize there's also a dollar number on that. But in terms of having to pay for, marketing and whatnot. Book reviews, as I mentioned, there will be a link in that blog post to start soliciting for book reviews. Metrics are a really funny thing, and it's not that metrics don't matter. It's just they don't always matter. So a lot of times I will get questions from authors who say, you know what? What's the metric of that? What's the metric of this? What's the metric of a book review? The answer is I don't really know. And I've been in business for 16 years and I don't really know what the metric is. So what I do know is that people like what other people like. So if you have a book that has a lot of reviews, that could sway somebody to buy your book. There's your metric. But it's not one single review. It's one review, then another review, then another review, right? If I advertise my book for free, what's the metric of that? Well, you can certainly see how many downloads you had, but if those downloads turn into super fans, and those super fans then help you to sell more books by telling, 10 or 20 of their friends, that's a metric that's really, really hard to measure within the ad time, so the time that the freebie ran. The things that I can tell you is that you really want to stop doing stuff that doesn't matter. So don't just do stuff for the sake of doing it. Well, I'll place an ad. Well, I'll do this. Well, I'll do that. You really do want to pay attention to the things that start to bring in some interest and not necessarily automatically sell books, but maybe you get a lot of likes on Facebook. Maybe you posted a tweet that's getting a lot of shares. Those are the kinds of things. Success leaves clues. So those are the kind of things that you want to look for, and then stop doing everything else that really doesn't positively affect your work, or that just feels like busy work. Be consistent. Whatever you do, be consistent. I mentioned a blog, updating it, keeping the communication going. Don't abandon your own party. So don't start this whole conversation about your book and then just kind of abandon it. All right. Say yes to everything. If I get invited to be interviewed on a radio show that I've never heard of, that's maybe just a tiny little local show, I will 10,000% do that show. I don't, I'm not, a, I mean, I think we say no to the opportunities that maybe it's a show that's not quite right, or the audience isn't there, and then I might ask the host, hey, what was your sort of goal with this interview? Like, it doesn't, you know, maybe it doesn't look like it's the right audience. Should I take a different angle? Because you never know really what the host has in mind. Blog posts, things like that. I always try to actively contribute and continue to remain out there. So, those are my suggestions and my no BS guide to book marketing. Here's the link. We'll also post it in the YouTube description to the no BS guide to book marketing on our website at amarketingexpert.com. This is Penny Sansevieri. Thank you so much for tuning in, and good luck with your marketing.